Tier 1. Thanatophobia. When brought below 40% of your maximum health, become horrified for 3 seconds. Oh, Blizzard. I've got to pre-warn you guys, I'm really not happy. So I'm going to explain what you're looking at real quick. In fact, we're going to do something a little strange. I'm going to jump into combat as quickly as possible because we have the new scoring system, and what I want to show you is kind of time dependent. So we're going to kill the boss, and then I'm going to explain some of the new features that have come with the new version of Torghast. This is very early days. That is unquestionable. This is basically to test a system which is baffling in my eyes as to why on earth this thing exists, but I will explain it to you in detail. I am not here to rant. I am going to try my best to explain why I am utterly baffled as to what Blizzard has been... Why Blizzard have figured this is what Torghast needed. So let's kill this boss. You'll notice the boss has a little friend here that we just dealt with. That's going to make sense to you in a moment. Are there any new powers and skills? No, not yet. There are some to come. Which could be the saving grace of this. I want to be clear on something before we get into a lot of the detail of what I'm going to talk about. I'm a huge supporter of what Torghast could be. I have been an advocate of Torghast since day one of me going in here. I'm a big fan of roguelikes, which this was based on, and I'm hoping for something good. Oh, good. Okay, you see this? Take note of this. We got 5 stars, we got 167 score, and we earned some points. We got a 5-star run, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause to me. So, few things to notice. One, we just did the boss. That is the last boss in terms of the main run of your weekly Torghast. The weekly Torghast that you do in one area to get your Soul Ash, and in 9.1 that will be Soul Cinders, is done. And it happened on floor 5. There is one less floor to do. So that's a thumbs up for the people who really dislike Torghast, would rather get in and get out as quickly as possible. You can leave now and you're good. You'll notice, though, I do have a door, and that's because I earned 5 stars. In fact, if you earn over 4 stars in Torghast, you will access the new bonus area. We are going to be checking that out in a minute. It's called the Adamant Halls, or the Adamant something. So bear in mind, we achieved our goal. Excellent. Let me talk about all the new stuff, because you can see all this stuff on the side, and you're probably thinking to yourself, what the hell is all that? Well, the scoring system. You may have heard that Blizzard was adding a scoring system to Torghast. That is what we're checking out now. How is that determined? Well, in the interview I did with Ian yesterday, he said you will earn it for speed. Like, if you want to just get through it as quickly as possible, that will earn you a high score. And also clearing things will earn you a high score. What does that mean? As far as I can tell, this is about my 9th Torghast run today. You see this bar? This is your streak bar. And you can see there's a line here. It's kind of faint, but it is there, and I'm sure you guys can see it. This is based on how much you're doing within Torghast. Killing enemies, killing pots, moving quickly, those kinds of things. And as you can see, this bar is degrading. You see it's gone blue now from yellow. If we get it across this line, it will go red. If it goes red, you are empowered. From what I can tell, the score is entirely based, at least from what I can tell, in the current version, on how long you spend in red empowered mode. It feels that way. Because both going fast and being in combat and doing things keeps topping up the bar to keep you in the red section. And it does feel like if you spend a little bit of time outside of that red section, or you die, or something like that, that brings you out of the empowered state, then that lowers your score. I think that's how it works. It's something similar to that. Whatever the actual minutiae is of the calculation, it feels like it's that. So what does it being empowered do? It gives you a minor speed bonus, right? It gives you a minor speed bonus. That's its base version. Now, what we've seen is the data mined sort of meta progression for Torghast that they're adding in 9.1. It's still obviously in the works, but it's basically a tree that makes Torghast easier. So it will do things like the bar will decay slower. When you are empowered, you also gain a damage bonus. It seems like a very light version of what we had in Visions in 8.3. Think of it like that. It's obviously not the final version, and some twists and tweaks will happen there, but that's basically what it is. And that is what we're going to be spending our points on, this Tower Knowledge I just earned. So you can see I have 573 from the runs I've done today of potential 2 million. The manifestation of knowledge gained in Torghast used to unlock the power of the box of many things. The box of many things being the talent tree system. So very similar to Visions, you'll earn points, you can invest them in there, which will make it easier, and so on and so forth. Okay, fair enough. What else comes with this? Well, this we're doing now is layer 11. Currently on the live version of the game, Torghast goes to layer 8. In 9.1, it will go to layer 12. Because I just earned 5 stars for this run, I now have unlocked layer 12. Okay, so right now, the system that is currently in place means that you have to get 5 stars in order to unlock the next layer. It may not go live like that because you only need 4 stars to actually access the extra area that I have here. If you get 4 here, you still get access to this. You just will not unlock layer 12. So in my case, I got 5 stars in layer 11. Layer 12 is now unlocked to me. If I had gotten 4 stars, I would still get access to the Adamant Halls, but I would not unlock layer 12. I would have to rerun layer 11 and get a 5-star rating for doing it, right? So we're all clear on that. What are these things? These are just insane to me. These are the torments. So the way they're doing this is when you go to enter Torghast now, and you choose the layer you want to do, you know, you get the menu with the layer. The layers that now exist in 9.1 come with a certain amount of torments. So like layer 9 and 10 have 4. It's listed that 10 should have 5, but it had 4 for me. Layer 11 has 5. As you can see, I have 5 of these little icons. What are they? Well, let's have a look. So we have Terminal. Maximum health reduced 1% every 60 seconds. This effect is reset on floor completion. Why? Just yesterday, Ian said to me that the idea of anything that makes people feel like they're under stress of a timer has a very visceral negative reaction. Which is why it was a good thing that just clearing everything and killing all the pots and taking your time would still reward you a high score. So why is there something in the game that indicates you should go fast? Now, I want to be clear on something. This thing is utterly meaningless. It does nothing at all. The same as the original time Blizzard tried to put these affixes into Torghast, and we revolted because it makes no sense. You would have to be on the floor for like 20 minutes to even make this thing even count. It's worthless. So why is it here? Why put any... Because there are definitely players who feel pressure when they see something like this. Every minute I'm here, my max health is reducing. But realistically, it doesn't matter. But players still feel that way. Volatile Doom. Enemies have a chance to leave behind a doomed soul remnant on death. After a brief delay, it explodes, dealing shadow damage. So when enemies die, they drop a bomb. Reflective. Elite enemies periodically gain a reflective shield while in combat, reflecting all incoming spells for 5 seconds. That probably sounds scarier than it is, but it's scary for all the wrong reasons. If you have full cooldowns and you are blasting the enemy and it has the reflective shield up, even when you have a lot of Torghast buffs, this does nothing. Like, it does absolutely nothing. And it's not just because I'm on a hunter. I've been playing with different classes today. It's nothing to do with that. However, if you pick up procs, like the Butterfly, like Corruption Antenna, like Storm Scythe Peridot, like things that actually proc on the enemy to do damage, which are often the best choices in Torghast, this kills you. And it can happen the moment the shield procs. If you have Storm Scythe Peridot, which is infinite, you might remember it as the nature damage proc that puts an infinite dot on the enemy, that goes on you. Now, you can be shit hot on the escape button, but it can happen as this shield procs. There's just a little animation, and we'll see it in a minute, because we are going to do the new areas. So you just die. Now, I will say the death counter is going away, because the Tarragu is going to be killed in the raid, and it's going to lower your score if you die. That still does not make this fun, is when you suddenly realize, like, Corruption Antenna procs, the one that I had on a previous run, procs for 62k. I have 49k HP, and it just wipes you out. And I'm pretty good with hitting my escape key to stop attacking. I'm pretty good. I've had years of experience with that, and it still sucks. Raging from Mythic Plus. When non-boss enemies are brought below 30% health, they gain 50% increased damage. Okay? And backup. Torghast bosses are granted a powerful ally to assist them in battle. This would be this guy. Now, I will say this. This is the PTR takes place in the US realms. So, fortunately, I've had a chance to play with different affixes because they cycle on the PTR, although these are likely to be weekly torments, on the PTR, they cycle them daily. So, I got to play with a couple of others. One of them was, if there are 5 enemies close to me, they all deal 10% more damage, which is just anti-melee because range don't deal with that. There are a couple of ranged who AoE in melee, like Arcane Mages, but most of them will AoE from a distance and have ways of keeping enemies at a distance, so it's just anti-melee for the most part. The other one was spawning orbs, that the enemies will spawn orbs around them. They're similar to this, but with a little short-range laser that spin around in a circle. As a ranged player, again, it did nothing to me, so they're just 2 anti-melee affixes that you've added to the game. But, bar the bar, let me tell you what blows my mind about this, and why I'm really, really angry. And I'm trying to keep my cool. I really am, but who in the hell, after you had to nerf this system, you had to nerf this whole thing, because players couldn't do it. Like, the 6 floors, they're getting stuck. So you had to nerf it into the ground, thought that what Torghast needed was a bunch of Mythic Plus style affixes. Who thought that would make this more fun? I'm genuinely just baffled why this is here. Because this does not make this... Why would reflecting damage on myself... This isn't Diablo. At all. And there's nothing fun here. The biggest complaint we've seen about something like Mythic Plus is that all the affixes make it more annoying. There's no kiss curse. There's no bonus fun side of it. And you've added that into Torghast for a system people already don't like. You've added things that make people feel like they need to rush. You've added anti-melee mechanics. Why? This is the place that's supposed to be super fun. And get you to go super wild and crazy with your character. So you added these into it. I'm just lost. Because are you trying to make it harder in a place that you had to heavily nerf? Is that the plan? Why? I'm so confused as to why this is here. And there's nothing positive about them. Like, if this is early stages and positives are coming, great. Great. Wonderful. But I'm probably expecting that not to happen. There's nothing crazy, silly. This place is supposed to be ridiculous. That's what we fell in love with in the alpha, is the ridiculous nature of it. And when it came out, it was too hard, so you had to nerf it into the ground. This is where we'll grind Soul Ash and Soul Cinders. So in the next stage of development, after you had to crush this place, you decided to add affixes to it that make it harder for a lot of players and make them feel like they need to go fast and are just annoying to melee players. Okay. Okay. What about the streak bar? And this is my next point. Let's move on. Let's move on. So you'll see a number of these affixes. Let's go into the new adamant area. This is the bonus area. So you get this for getting, as I mentioned, if you get 4 stars or more, then you get access to this. The adamant, what's it called? It's going to change name. The adamant vaults. So this is a new area. It's got the new enemies that we saw previewed at BlizzCon Line. And it's more of the same. So this is what's confusing about this. What Torghast needed, at least in my point of view, and I'm not a dev, but what Torghast needed was more variety, just more spells, more silliness, more things to make this run fun and interesting. What it didn't need was more hamstrings. And that seems to be where you focus your attention on the development of this place. And I'm so utterly confused and frustrated because I am a huge supporter of Torghast. A massive supporter of Torghast. And if you would have asked me, is like, what would be the next logical step in development of this place? And you would say Mythic Plus affixes. Given how people already feel about Torghast, I would be just... I'm speechless in many ways. And it's not easy to make me speechless, but I'm so confused. The next thing. Okay, you can see the streak meter. See how it's red? I'm empowered now. Okay, so I have the little buff. Couple of sinister things going on here, and again, I don't want to read too much into it because it is early development. But one, have I changed my playstyle to keep myself empowered? No. You've added a score system and a new talent system and all that stuff, and I have to ask one simple question, and I want to be clear here. I've spoken to the people who design and code this stuff, and they're really good people, and I have no doubts whatsoever that this discussion was had. How does this make this more enjoyable? And that's my simple question. Okay, you've added scores, you've added torments, you've added a new talent tree, which for the most part is just ways of increasing score. How has that made this better than the original version? What's the improvement we've had in gameplay? How is this more fun now? And I can't think of a single reason. I can't think of anything that this adds to it. You've put all this stuff in, and I don't get why. Because it's not, my gameplay hasn't changed. I can't actually go much quicker. I'm not racing. I'm not ninja pulling or trying to do massive things. Just playing and looting everything, like, which is how I like to play roguelike games. Playing actually normally, which you can see, I'm not doing anything weird, is me being empowered. And honestly, if I wasn't empowered, I don't think I'd care. Unless, and this is why I'm talking about the sinister thing, I can't get 5 stars and unlock my later layers for the resource that I want from here, which would be Soul Cinders, without being empowered all the time. Which I would only realistically need to do one time only, which would be to unlock layer 12. And if that's the case, I have to ask, because, I mean, tinfoil hat time for sure, but let me tell you what you think. Is this just to hamstring people gear-wise? Because the only thing that really, as long as you're playing and not literally AFK, as long as you're playing, the only thing that stops you being empowered is high health enemies. And that seems to be all you've done in terms of changing the layers, is increase the HP and damage. But their mechanics are still very, very simple. And yes, I'm aware, some people do struggle with these things, and that's understandable. But they're not complicated. Right? They're not complicated mechanics by any means. You can see here, this is not a struggle. I'm not doing, and it's not a hunter thing either. Some classes are great at Torghast, some aren't. That remains to the same because nothing's changed there. Is this just to stop people getting 5 stars because you simply can't do enough damage to stay empowered? Because that's the only thing that's pulled me out of it, is these things now start to have so much HP that you can't break through. So he's got his reflect up now. So it's, I mean, I could just DPS through it. You can see it doesn't do anything. I'm just hopping around when he's got reflect shield up. If I had procs though, it would kill me. You see my point? If you need 5 stars to unlock the next layer above you, and it's simply a case of you cannot do enough damage, you do not have enough gear, and you haven't had a really extraordinarily fortunate run to boost your damage to where it needs to be, that you simply don't get it. Because if you get 4, as it currently stands, you get 4 stars, that doesn't count. You don't get the new layer, which would give you more legendary resource. Now, they've put a recommended item level on it. Layer 11, where I am right now, is a recommended item level of 220. So my character is 222 on the PTR. I'm not even bothering with that. And the next one up is 230. Layer 12 is 230. So I can imagine that 230 is going to be pretty rough. Because, but not for any other reason than the enemies just have so much health. And they just, you know, they melee me too hard or something like that. Or they melee my pet too hard. And I did some vengeance stuff before, etc. And it's... I'm so confused, guys. I want to give it like a fair shout and stuff, but if this is the first thing we're adding, I have to wonder why. Why are we doing this? How is this better? Let's just go to the new. So this is, I'm going to show you floor 7 now, which is currently the final floor that you will get. This is another bonus floor which has an extra boss in it. We may get a good boss, we may get a bad one. I've faced 2 bosses in this extra area. One of them is an actual boss. The other one is not. So it'll be entirely dependent on what boss we get here as to what actually happens in the next moment or so. I hate making videos like this, but I can't help it because I have a responsibility to the audience, and it's not in my interest to say this kind of sucks. Well, this doesn't just kind of suck. This is the exact opposite direction that I feel, anyway, Torghast should go in. Because I can't imagine a single person watching this right now going, oh, that looks like they've made it so much better. In my mind, there is 0 chance of that happening, because why spend the time putting in these? Why not make them sillier? Like, really interesting, crazy, fun things that Torghast and roguelikes are all about. It's about, every roguelike imaginable is about making something really cool. A really cool and interesting build. And Torghast didn't have that. So let's be a bit more specific, so I'm not just being a whining idiot in the eyes of some people. I think they've tried to copy Hades with the whole the talent system, because Hades does have a talent system which makes parts of the game easier. Now, that is such a disservice to that game, it's almost criminal, because while they do have that, their game is, 1, very hard, as it's supposed to be, in a roguelike adventure. You're supposed to struggle and get stronger and then overcome things. They also have, and I think this is where this idea has come from, but it's been implemented in such a bizarre way, the heat system. And the heat system is, again, this is just a massive disservice, is the heat system is entirely optional. An entirely optional system where the player gets to individually decide what he wants to do to increase the difficulty of the game that suits that player. So if you prefer fighting bosses, you can make the bosses harder and add more bosses in. If you prefer the trash and find the trash more compelling, you could do that. If you prefer to sacrifice some abilities because you want to try a harder, less OP run, you could do that. They have something like 40 different options that are selectable by the player to alter and modify the game. They're not this. And even when they do have things like this, like increase the health and stuff like that, the game is balanced. The game premise is balanced around having a ludicrous number of options of abilities to create completely wacky builds that are the main focus of the game. The main focus isn't killing the enemies, like it kind of is in Torghast. The main focus is on building an utterly wacky and interesting character. And Torghast simply does not have that level of variety in its powers to allow that to happen. Now, my only saving grace here is that they may get that at some point, right? And you can see here with this boss, it wouldn't matter what class I was on, really, that this is not a difficult boss no matter what my item level. It just takes me a long time to kill. And that's pretty much it. You just have to hop around and kind of wait for it to die. That's ultimately what this is. If I was a melee, I'd just be annoyed that I'd have to run in and out of this tortured stomp, unless it barely did any damage to me in the first place. Oh, I've got a spell to interrupt. Oh no. There's just not enough mechanics here. They feel like tyrannical bosses, where they have like 3 or 4 mechanics that make sense in a normal mode, heroic, and sort of early Mythic Plus setting, but once you actually start stretching that out all the way, it no longer makes any sense. I detest saying stuff like this, man. I detest it. But this is just weird. Now, we don't know what the reward is for doing this bonus area for more of a factual thing. I'm sure it might either be bonus soul cinders or some sort of cosmetic or something else that goes along with this. But this is a rough start to fixing Torghast for a majority of the player base. This is really rough, and I'm depressed. I'm really depressed because I was so excited for it. This does nothing to your gameplay. Absolutely nothing. The score system is, from what I can tell, utterly worthless. Utterly worthless. Why these are here? Why is this fun? If you're going to make people do this because they want to build their legendaries, then why are these here? What for? How is this better? These are all the questions I've been left today after playing this for so long. And looking for the good side. And I have been looking for the upside. I'm thinking, okay, so how can the score system work? If you really want to get on the leaderboard, if they do a leaderboard, and that's a very niche part of the audience who would be interested in a leaderboard. How is this the next step? Is this is what confuses me. When Blizzard was going to put these torments in originally, the outcry was enormous. So you just went back and did it again in 9.1? After already having to squash this content, you decided to add more difficulty modifiers? Without upping the fun stuff, because the talent tree doesn't offer anything like that. The saving grace to this, if I can say one, is that there must be an absolute wealth of cool and interesting abilities to come along with this. Then I will gladly eat my own ass after making this video. But for now, I leave you confused, befuddled, and fucking just so disappointed, man. So disappointed, because this whole thing makes zero sense to me. I mean, it's making me cynical. That's the thing. It's making me cynical. When I look at, like, oh, you need a 5-star rating to get to layer 12, it's like, well, that's just to slow people down from getting the resources to build their legendaries, right? Because the only real determining factor there is gear. That's it. It's just gear. So if you don't have the gear to kill the layer 11 things quickly enough, or the layer 10 things, or the layer 9 things, then You just have to rerun it until you get 5 stars, or come back when you get better gear. So you can see level 12 is open. Let's see what the 6th Torment is, shall we? Before we wrap this one up. I am really sorry that I occasionally make videos like this, because I know people think, oh, you just flighting on the rage. There is no rage about this. Nobody's seen it yet. I'm not trying to cause a stir, because I want Torghast to be good. Damn, I want this to be good. So we got a fear one. Thanatophobia. When brought below 40% of your maximum health, become horrified for 3 seconds. Oh, Blizzard. What? Why? Are you going to sell Venari things? In fact, I know. The talent tree has, like, you only get X amount of torments. Is that all this is? Have you made this worse so you can sell us on a talent tree that makes it less annoying? I'm out. Bye.